welcome. On today's episode of What Is, we'll be taking a look at one of the PC's most important components. The CPU, or the Central Processing Unit, is the heart of any computer out there. Without it, no computer would work. They come in various shapes, sizes, and colors, AMD and Nvidia for that matter. So, what do CPUs look like? Well, CPUs are square-shaped and have pins on the bottom. Intel has a different approach to this. Their CPUs only include pads on the bottom since the motherboard has the pins. So, where can you find your CPU? The CPU is usually located next to your RAM or your I/O shield. So, what does a CPU do? A CPU handles all the instructions that your computer's software and hardware provides to it. A computer would not work without a CPU. And if you're wondering, no, you cannot use a GPU instead of a CPU because GPUs are bad at multitasking and tackle different kinds of information. So, how does a CPU work? The first step is collecting data, and that step is called fetching. The information is any sequence or a sequence of numbers from program memory. Often, instructions must be fetched from a slow memory, causing a bottleneck. Today, this problem is solved with including cache in the mix. After this step, the CPU decodes the information and decides what to do with it. The way in which instructions are interpreted is determined by the CPU's instruction set. In some cases, we can rewrite the memory to change how our CPU decodes information, but that's rare. So, after the CPU decides what to do with the information, comes the execution step. The execution depends on the CPU's architecture. It can execute in single action or in string of action. So, how is the CPU constructed? Well, the original CPU was constructed out of 3 parts, but today with the addition of cache, it comes to 4 parts. So the first part is the control unit. The control unit of a CPU contains circuitry. This is used to send electrical signal throughout the PC to execute stored instructions. The control unit also communicates with the next 2 parts. The first one is arithmetic logic unit. The ALU is a digital circuit within a processor that performs integer arithmetics. Depending on the instructions it's coming from, the operands may come from the CPU's register or from slow memory. When all of the signals have gone through the ALU, the result of the operands appears on the ALU output. The result consists of data word and information that is stored in the CPU's registry. And for the last part, a register. A processor register is a quickly accessible location by the CPU. Registers usually consist of small amounts of fast memory. So you might have heard of CPU clock speeds, and if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain it. The CPU clock speed is based on how much information a CPU can process in 1 second. For example, if your CPU is 3.3 GHz, it can process up to 3.3 billion instructions per second. What are CPU cores? Some devices may only have a single core, but some CPUs also have quad-core, 8-core, and even more. As it already may be apparent, having 2 cores can double our instructions per second, which is a very good thing to have. Some CPUs also have hyperthreading. That means that for every physical core, we can create 2 virtual cores. Virtual cores, however, are slower than its physical counterpart. Some applications, or even some games, can use what's called multithreading. Multithreading is if a thread is understood as a single piece of a computer process, and then utilizing more threads means more instructions can be processed at the same time. You've also probably heard of the 32-bit and the 64-bit version of CPUs. So what is the difference between 32-bit and 64-bit processors? Well, simple. 32-bit processors can't run 64-bit applications, and 64-bit processors can have more RAM. I hope you guys learned something new today. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to see more What Is.